Okay, I'm getting ready to do some primitive fire, and anytime you do primitive fire, you really want to do everything you can to maximize the efficiency of the situation, okay? And what I'm doing is just using a tree that I know of, the beech tree. See how many leaves it has all clustered together, okay? This is only, what, three branches here, and I already have maybe 5 or 6 right there. So that's all it takes to give me a good insulator from the ground. Because right now, the ground is sopping wet. Okay? If you can hear that, that's what I'm sitting on. Okay, so making primitive fire, I don't want anything to do with that wet ground. So I'm going to stack all this here, and then I'm going to take my deer hide and throw that on top of that. And that should keep me up off the ground. Now if you didn't have deer hide, you would just simply find something of leaves or bark that's dry and get yourself off the ground. This is just what I'm going to do for today, but it's just to give you that little tip. Okay, this hand drill is going to involve a few tips in it too, that I've learned along the way and experienced, and I'm going to show them to you, so hopefully you can increase your odds of making primitive fire. Okay, and I also want to mention something else about primitive fire at the beginning of this video, because a lot of people feel they can watch a video of how to make primitive fire, whether it be a bow drill, hand drill, fire plow, fire saw, whatever. They feel they can do it just by watching a video. That is definitely not the case, especially with a hand drill, which you will learn if you practice these enough, getting materials from nature and not just drying them out and using them. You're gonna get blisters on your hand, okay? If you don't have calluses already, you're gonna blister bad, okay? And they're gonna be big blood blisters everywhere you rub that stick on your hand. Now, I've had calluses. I worked with stone my whole life and built my hands up, but even with my hands already being calloused, they blistered bad when I started doing hand drills, okay? So I want to point that out. You're not going to go in the middle of the wild with confidence just by watching a video saying, well, if my lighter doesn't work, I know how to make this hand drill. And that's just not the case, because you might not even be able to find the materials, you know, for one. But two, it's not that easy to make them, okay? You need to practice these things over and over and over again. Alright? So, there's that. Here's this tip. Get yourself up off this wet ground. Even if the ground seems a little damp, get yourself off the ground, because any moisture is just gonna default what you're doing. It's gonna take your ember and just put it right out. And your tinder, whatever touches that dampness, okay? You don't want anything to do with any moisture, humidity, dampness at all. Then I'm going to go over a little trick for the hand drill that some of you may find useful and interesting. But what this is going to include is horseweed, okay? This hand drill here. Horseweed is what you will find in Appalachia and Tennessee. You can find it in Florida as well. I know I went over Caesar weed for hand drills in Florida, but you can also find this here or there. And this is what you're going to use for a hand drill in these mountains here in Tennessee if you were to make a hand drill. Now, bow drill is obviously always your first choice if you have cordage, but hand drill is a good thing to learn as well, because sometimes the cordage might not be there. But what we're going to do is use horseweed. Now, distinguish the difference between horseweed and horsetail. Horsetail is a smaller green plant that you may have heard of. It's used for scoring pots and pans, for cleaning. It's got silicates in it. You can use that for that. Growing here in my little bamboo and weed garden here, I let different plants just grow out. I don't chop them down or anything. This plant here is a form of Kunzia. There is one species of this, canadensis, Kunzia canadensis, that is used for spices and such on these leaves. It's obviously too late in the year to use any of that, but it's also known as horseweed or mare's tail. This here I believe is not that species, because there is 2 other species that can be confused with that. So I really don't know if it is or not, but I'm not sure it is because of the hair, the amount of hair on the stem and the amount of reddish brown blotches it's got. Now, one way to tell that you have this is the way it branches out at the top like that. And it has alternate leaves that almost look like a whirl going down it. It'll alternate here to here to here to here, all the way down. And what I'm going to use it for is to make a hand drill. Okay, this is a plant that you're going to be able to find in nature. Alright, I told you in my other video I would find this plant that you can make a hand drill with, that you can find in nature. The problem is you got to dry it out, okay, but it's there. Alright, so here we have another one. This is out on some woods where I do a lot of videos and a lot of trekking. Okay, so I'm here with all my materials. Okay, I gathered them before I got here, and what we have here, okay, is 2 pieces of horsetail. This is large horsetail. Okay, this stuff here is good for a bow drill. Okay, I'm going to bring this up close. Okay, you can probably see that that has a pithy core. Okay, and that's good for making hand drills because of the air that can flow through it, which helps us get fire. Okay, come to this camera, you can see this. It's a little bit smaller. Okay, the reason we like smaller diameter for hand drill is because then we can get more rotations per minute. Okay, if I have that large piece, I'm only going to get, you know, half, if not more than, or less than that, of rotations per minute because it's a larger diameter. Same thing if you had big tires on your vehicle. We want more rotations because that's going to generate more heat and be less work on us. Okay, surface area for bow drill is obviously the key. You want a bigger piece because you have that bow to give you that extra spin with that extra surface area, which is why bow drill is probably the best for making primitive fire. Okay, now horsetail works quite well for making a hand drill, and it's the best you're going to find, in my opinion, in Tennessee for making a hand drill. Okay, I showed you yucca, but yucca is not something you're going to find out here. Alright, so what we have here, some basswood to go along with it. Great combination. Okay, basswood offers you tinder, and it offers you cordage, and it offers you a great way to make fire. Bow drill with basswood on basswood works well. This is a great way to make a tinder bundle. I've got chunks of tulip poplar bark in the back, okay, with very fine pieces of tulip poplar in the front. Okay, makes a great rat's nest here. And then I took a piece of that tulip poplar inner bark that I showed you how to make cordage with, and just tightened that around the bottom to hold it all together. Okay, now I don't have a bunch of firewood laid out to make fire. I'm just going to show you how to make fire. If this thing ignites, I can get wood to start on fire. It's a nice big, you can see here's my hand. It's plenty big enough, and that's the point of this video, is to show you just be completely prepared. Okay, you can see I have the really fine stuff right there in the center, and then I have some more frilly stuff behind it with larger pieces of bark still intact all the way in the back to give me that extended fuel to get my wood burning. Okay, so that I can just hold like this, can break this open a little bit for my coal to fall into, and then I can just hold this like this, fold it, and blow, and I should be able to get that to ignite. Okay, so what we want to do now is take and we really want to smooth this thing out. Okay, if we don't smooth this out, we're going to have problems, a lot of them. What's going to do is just tear your hands up. So I'm just going to go ahead, go right down this thing, and I'm just scraping with my blade here, just like this. Okay, and what that does is just smooths this whole thing out. This horseweed has little nodules all along the stem, and we don't want those because they hurt. I'm going to take and I'm going to cut the bottom of this off too by just beaver chewing, which is just taking a little chunk on each side all the way around, making a circle, and then it'll just break right off in that spot and give you almost a perfect circle for your hand drill. Okay, and we have you want that pithy stuff showing. At the very bottom of these, they're a little woody. Okay, so cut that bottom off, get down to that good pithy part. Okay, and I'm just going to shave this down a little bit. And then I'm going to make it nice and flat so we can have maximum surface area with the small piece we have. Okay, and I'm going to finish shaving this down. Now first I'm going to show you a regular hand drill, and then I'm going to just teach you the trick that you can go ahead and try that I told you about in the beginning of the video. I just want to show that this can be done doing a regular hand drill. Now the stuff that comes off this makes decent tinder, by the way. I don't need it because I already made a nice big bundle out of tulip poplar. And the key is making sure this thing's as straight as it can be. You don't want, like right up here I've got a little nub sticking up. It's going to want to spin this thing funny, so I'm just going to kind of bend it a little bit, work it. You know, you can manipulate this wood a little bit. Don't go too crazy because you will break it. Okay, so now once I get that close, put a couple finishing touches on it. Make sure there's no rough spots. Okay, and the reason I'm doing this, I'm leaning it here so I don't have to set this thing in any of that wet ground. Alright, now I need to get a piece of my basswood here ready. So what I'm going to do, shave off a flat surface on it down to that very inner core that I know is going to be dry. Anything on the outside might have some dampness to it. It's real humid today. We don't want that. So now that I have this shaved down, I really got to protect it. Okay, and I'm going to shave a square end. Okay, I shaved the top, and now I want to shave this square so it's square with it. So now we're going to position our tinder bundle there. Make sure this is going to sit good. Now usually I've showed you this where I'm barefoot, and I would love to be barefoot, but I kept a nice long piece of basswood, okay, so I don't have to put my foot anywhere near this part here. Okay, I need to just make a little indent with my knife. You've seen me do all this before. Now again, like I said, this takes a lot of practice to do this. Every time I've done primitive fire, it's never been a piece of cake. I like to do this, you don't have to. Once I make that indent, I'll take the piece that I'm going to be using on the fireboard and I'll push it in there just so it forms that circle, okay, and the bottom gets a little smoothed out. Simply this right here. That's all I do. Alright, now when we're at that point, we can go ahead and we can burn our hole in. Okay, and there's reasonings behind that. Now, spitting on your hands, okay, something that you see a lot of people do. The reason you do it is it gives you grip. Okay, your hands will slide down this thing without spit. That's why you spit. Okay, so get some spit on there, get some grip, and then just slowly start working down this thing and get this thing heated up. Okay. That's gotta go. Okay, now you see I cut that top off because what it was doing was it was twirling at the top and knocking me off here, and that's what I was talking about. If it's not straight, you're going to have problems, so we got rid of that. So now we'll go back to burning our hole in. You can use some speed and downward pressure on this to get it done quick. Okay, you can see I've already got a hole burnt in there. Take just a little bit more, smoking. Okay, that's all it takes. Just downward pressure and speed. You're done doing that, clap your hands. Okay, why? Because what that does is it's going to bring the blood back to the skin so you don't blister as easily. That's not going to prevent blisters, but it's going to help, okay? Clap your hands. Make it hurt, because blisters hurt more. Okay, now that we've got that part done, now we want to take and cut our notch. Now, a lot of people say there's not too much technique to any of this stuff, but there is. Notches vary, okay? Hand drills are different than bow drills, and wet days are different than dry days. Right now, it's humid out. So what I want to do, you know, anyone who knows primitive skills will tell you this. When it's damp, you want to trap heat, okay? Because it's damp. So we're going to make our notch a little smaller and narrower. On good hot days, open it up. I don't like them too big because I've had least success when they're too big. I'm going to show you exactly what I do on every notch I make, how deep I go. But this part here, the size and width of the notch, varies, okay? Being that it's really humid, it's been raining, I am going to take my notch and make it a little narrower. Now, the part that I want to show you that I do on everyone is I'm going to bring the notch just inside the circle, okay? And I'm going to widen the bottom out so there's room for a coal to catch in there. Just the bottom. Don't make the top as wide. If you look there, you can see there's our circle right here. Okay, I brought that notch just inside that circle. You don't want to go any further, and you don't want to go at the edge of the circle because all your dust is going to collect on the outside of this circle here. Okay, and that's not what you want. You want it to go in your notch. So you go just inside the circle, maximize surface area, don't go too far. If you go too far, you decrease your surface area. You go too little, all your dust goes out here instead of in your notch. Okay? So just inside, remember that. And don't make it a V. Okay, I personally, my opinion, I like to make it flat in there. Like that. That's what I do. I make it flat like that. I don't put it to an exact V point. Less falls in. I want my dust to fall in that. Okay, so at this point, very quickly, we have prepared ourselves for primitive fire. Now we're ready to actually perform the making of an ember. I don't really like the catch I have. I'd like to have a little bit bigger one, so I'm going to pull one of these out and put it with this guy. Because I don't want my coal falling out. Which is okay, I've got plenty back here to keep this thing held together. Okay, tinder bundle stays nearby. And I know you can't see down here in this view, which is why I have this angle here, so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. Okay, so once we get that done, we want to go ahead and lay this down. Got ourselves a big enough catch, a tinder bundle's ready to go. Gonna spit on our hands, get that grip, okay? Got everything ready. Make sure our foot, if we're wearing boots, far enough away. And we're gonna just start out real slow. Okay, make sure we're positioned good. Just get some heat built up. Okay, we got some smoke, so now we're going to breathe real well. We're going to start speeding up and pushing down. going. Don't want to do that. Okay, set all these to the side. Got a coal. Okay, let it grow a little bit. Okay, see that coal? Let's get it in there. I want to begin to blow. Fold it a little bit. Okay, let it grow a little bit. Okay, see that coal? Let's get it in there. I want to begin to blow. Fold it a little bit. That's how we make fire with horseweed and basswood. I won't burn my deer hide either. Okay, see how these chunks of bark are going to act as fuel? That'll give me a longer burn time. Alright, clap your hands when you're done. Get that blood back to your hands. Okay, may sound goofy, but it helps. You can see now our tulip poplar bark's starting to catch on fire. Bring it up for another camera. Well, she's burning, she's hot. Can't bring it up any further. But that's how we do it, okay? Simple horseweed, which you saw me show you in the green stage and in the dead stage. The trick that I wanted to show you is quite neat. Now while this is burning out, I'm going to just show you real quick how it works. I'm going to show you with tulip poplar cordage that I made. It's actually two pieces of cordage weaved together for extra strength. So I have this piece about 2 feet long. What I want to do is tie a simple knot in it. I'm going to take this piece here. I'm just going to tie a loop knot by simply turning it over on itself. Now, this knot has to be big enough for my thumb to fit in there. So that's rule number 1. Okay? My thumb fits. Alright? You see? Got my thumb in here. That ain't coming out. You just tie a loop knot by tying a simple knot, but with the strand folded over itself. Okay? So then we come over here, and we want to do the same thing. What we have is a piece of cordage where my 2 thumbs can fit in there with 7-8 inches in between. Okay? Now what we want to do take our hand drill. Now this is in the case of this thing broke, okay? Now our hand drill that we just spent all that time working on is only a foot long. I'm not going to break it because I'm probably going to use this down the road for more practice, but I would say if you broke it and it was short. Now you only have this little bit here, okay, boom, boom. You have to stop in between. That's not good. That means it's going to be a lot harder for you to make primitive fire. So we're going to take this and we're going to make a little V-notch at the top, almost as if you're making a nock for an arrow. See that? Alright. Then, say this is our hand drill set again. Place this in that nock. You can get it to stay. Okay. Holds pretty good. That might work. Okay. Now, what we do is we place this down here. I'm actually going to bring this camera in too. So you have two different looks at this. Okay. Notice I'm going to have to stand a little bit different because it's a little bit easier to do it like this. Okay. Now, I'm using tulip poplar bark cordage that I made. You don't have to use that. That's just showing you that you can do this in the wild primitively. Okay. You don't have to use paracord or anything else but other cordage, your bootlace, anything works just fine. Now, what we're doing here is making so we don't have to stop. Alright, so now I can start going. I don't have to stop. Okay, I'm going to bring it down, let you look at how my fingers are. Okay, you see I got this. The pivot, the center of gravity is right in the center of this cordage here. Okay, now when I turn, the cordage turns with it as if you're doing a pump drill, but I don't have to stop turning. Okay, I can just go as fast as I can to make this happen. It gives you an ember faster if made right, and it's going to increase your heat because you're not stopping. Okay. Already got some good smoke. Got some good dust collected down there. Okay, it does not take much on something like this. It's very simple. It works. It's efficient. And I wanted to show you that as a little trick for making hand drills. Try it. Practice it. Okay, I'll show you what tulip poplar looks like when you weave it. Okay, looks kind of like twine. This is not twine. This is tulip poplar bark. Same stuff that I made in that video. I made a whole, I probably made 30 foot of it. And then I weaved it together to make thicker strands. You can see, here's some of it, where the end of it was, and I finished it off. Alright guys, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you joining me on this. I hope those tricks help. I hope that gives you an idea of how difficult primitive fire can be, because it's not easy. It's very difficult, and it's going to take physical strength. Another tip I'm going to give you: if you are not physically in shape, cardiovascular wise, you are going to struggle. Okay, I'm sorry, but you're gonna. So let these tips help you. Remember what I said in the beginning of the video. Fire is not something you can just watch a video and go do. You need to practice it. Okay, so practice, collect some materials. There's a lot of materials out there you can collect. Ask people if you can have some. Most people don't want it. They see it as useless. Horseweed, people just mow them down in fields. Buy ditches. Grab some, just pick it. Practice with it. Identify it. Yucca. A lot of people use yucca in their yards. They cut them down and burn them. Ask them if you can have the spindles practice some primitive fire. I've got hundreds of spindles ready to teach classes on primitive fire. Okay, I've been collecting bamboo and everything. So if I can do it, you can do it. I'm sure you can find some. You can even buy it if you have to buy it. So I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks again for watching. And again, any questions, comments, just let me know.